ladies, and welcome to the Real Women, Real Business podcast. I am your host, Shauna Lynn Simon, and today we are going to be talking all about productivity and efficiency and time management strategies. So, I want to first of all address what I call the productivity paradox. So, listen, do not mistake being busy for being productive. This is a common mistake that so many people make. And many entrepreneurs, especially women, tend to get caught in what I call the productivity paradox cycle. So you might be familiar with this. You ever felt like you're super busy all the time? You've had a crazy day, feel like you're running from one meeting to the next, and you're just going nonstop. You've barely even had a chance to eat. And at the end of the day, you look up and you think, what did I actually get done today? So you don't actually feel like you're getting anything done. There's a reason for this. Again, this is mistaking busyness for being productive. Sometimes this happens because we are letting other people dictate how we are spending our time. So we spend our entire day addressing other people's agendas and not valuing and really respecting our own time. And so that's how we tend to fall into this trap. Another reason why we tend to fall into this trap is we may have overbooked ourselves and overloaded our task list simply because we struggle to say no. We really feel the need to say yes way more than we actually should. So I'm going to be providing some tips as well to help you to learn how to say no and understand what the value of that is. So listen, if you feel stuck, if you feel like you aren't getting anything done, this episode's really going to help you to get unstuck. I'm going to be providing some super valuable tips in here. And if you want a little bit more, you can actually grab, I've got a great PDF for you. Simply go to aboutshaunalynn.com/time. And you can grab a PDF with my top 5 time management strategies. And this is how I gain an extra 10 hours every single week. You put these things to work, I guarantee you will gain at least an extra 10 hours per week, if not more. So I find my accidental CEOs are especially notorious for falling into this productivity paradox. And part of that is very much due to just a lack of direction. Again, with the best of intentions, we tend to let other people dictate the overall direction of our company without really putting enough of an emphasis on prioritizing what our true vision is and ensuring that we are spending the time to craft that vision so that we can be making decisions when we're saying yes or no to things. We want to be saying them strategically and ensuring that we're saying yes to the ones that are going to bring us closer to our goals and saying no or not right now to those that maybe don't align with where we're trying to go ourselves. So if you are an accidental CEO, let me remind you what that is. Our accidental CEOs, you're someone who followed a passion, who wanted to help others, and that's what led you to starting your own business. However, you weren't fully prepared necessarily for all of the running the company behind the scenes, day-to-day stuff, and you probably didn't start your business with a written out, documented business plan. And this tends to make it really difficult when it comes to making decisions about what we should be saying yes to and what we should be saying no to. So we will cover all of that today as well, I promise. Okay, so how do you avoid the productivity paradox? So I will say the best way to avoid this is to honestly reduce your workload. And I know you're probably thinking, Shauna Lynn, how on earth am I going to reduce my workload? I have so many things on my task list. And let me tell you, they're all important and they're all urgent and they all need to get done. I've been there. I have days like that myself still. I'll admit I practice these tips every single day. And I still have moments where I feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of things. It feels like this never ending list. If your to-do list feels like it's 25 pages long, if you feel like you've got handwritten notes all over the place, or you're using 3 different task management apps and you still can't keep it all together, all right, this is the key. You need to reduce your workload. So how do you do that? Well, one of the simplest ways to do that is actually just to outsource some of the work. And I'm oversimplifying, sure, but the reality is that nowadays you can pay someone to do practically anything you want for you. If you don't feel that you can outsource some of your business work, maybe you're outsourcing some of your personal work. Can you hire someone to pick the kids up from school? Don't get me wrong, I know you enjoy that task, but maybe, just maybe, someone else can take care of getting them from school, bringing them home, and you can connect with them less frazzled once you've completed some other tasks. Perhaps it's a matter of ordering your groceries to be delivered or sending someone else to the grocery store to get your groceries for you rather than do it yourself. So consider that this doesn't have to be a full-time staff member necessarily. There's often great opportunities and agencies out there that will offer you part-time help, casual help, as needed help on your timeline, however it works best for you. So I know that sounds so crazy out there of like, I'm going to outsource my personal life. So let's go back to the business life. Because I'll admit, there are some things that I outsource through personal life. I have someone come in once a month to clean my house, so I don't have to give it that good deep scrub every month. I pay someone to come and mow the lawn for me because I've got a pretty large property and I don't feel like spending an hour just mowing the lawn. I'd rather take care of the garden. So consider some of those things. But I will admit that I find the biggest challenges come with my business and trying to identify how to outsource items there and manage my task list. So I will admit that I've gotten very, very good at outsourcing and delegating over the last several years. But please know I'm still not perfect at it. So take a look at the things that you're working on. And if there are especially some isolated tasks that you might be able to outsource to someone to take care of for you, that is going to be a huge, huge help to you. So weigh out the cost of it with the time that you're going to save and what can you do with that extra time. The goal is that by outsourcing those tasks, that time that you save will allow you to bring in the money that you need to pay for those tasks to be outsourced and then some. So look at it from that perspective. So think about it. Is it administrative? Is it marketing? Even some of the most simplest marketing ideas. I mean, you might have to do most of your marketing campaigns, but maybe you take 3 hours to create a document in Canva, or you could hire someone on Fiverr instead and have it done in an hour, where you just provide them with all the brand documents that you need and the context of what it is you're trying to build. So there's a lot of great opportunity there. Okay, so you've outsourced some items, but your to-do list is still looking a little heavy. And by a little heavy, I mean like a lot heavy. So what do we do now? Well, this is where we have to start prioritizing the to-do list. So I want you to take any tasks that are important or tasks that you don't want to do at the start of your day. This will get them off your plate. And I got to tell you, there is nothing more empowering than feeling like you really got something that's been weighing on you done at the start of your day. You will have so much more energy to face the rest of the day, because the challenge is when we have those big, heavy projects that are weighing us down, every few minutes, maybe not quite every few minutes, but frequently throughout the day, they are distracting us. They are eating away at us, telling us that they're not done yet and that we have to find time to get back to them. And so that is very distracting and ends up making it so that we're not as productive, because our brain capacity is being distracted by this nagging feeling that we're not getting something done that we should be getting done. So move those tasks up to the start of the day. I recommend reviewing your task list daily. So whether you want to do this first thing in the morning or the evening before, I want you to take a look at what you have on your to-do list. I think for most average people, we usually have anywhere from 10 to 30 items on our to-do list. If you've got more than 30 items on your to-do list, you're probably going to struggle. Keep it in mind, there's only so many hours in a day, right? So depending on what all you're putting on that to-do list, if it's all work related and you're planning on working an 8-hour day, if each one of those tasks takes, say, 30 minutes, you see where I'm going with this, right? There just literally aren't enough minutes in a day. So I do find it does help me to identify how much time I think a task is going to take approximately. And then even checking in with yourself to see, I thought something was going to take 30 minutes. It took me 2 hours to do. That's really good knowledge and a really good reference for the next time you have to do something similar. So what I do when I'm reviewing my to-do list, either again, the evening before or first thing in the morning, is I'm going to take a look at what are the top 3 items that I need to get done today. And those are the only 3 items that really matter. Now, here's the thing. We're all human. You will get distracted. You're going to have that meeting. And out of that meeting, they're going to ask you to do something like, oh, yeah, I'll do that right after the meeting. I'll send it off to you. Shoot, I still didn't get those 3 things done. And now it's lunchtime. And now you've got a phone call that's coming in. So there's a lot of ways that you can get distracted throughout the day. Hang on. I will be addressing this shortly. But I want you to create your top 3 list every day and ignore everything else as much as you can. So take those 3 items and make a visual reference for them, whether it's a post-it note that you put on your computer, or for myself, I use ClickUp. It's a project management software. Highly, highly, highly recommend using a project management software program of some sort. I use ClickUp. A lot of people use Trello. It's really popular, I know. Motion utilizes a lot of AI for helping you to reorganize your tasks, which is great. So find the one that works best for you. One of the features that ClickUp has is what's called the lineup. And your lineup is where you put your priority tasks. So I put my top 3 tasks in there every day. And when I get distracted, I can go back and say, oh, wait, those are the 3 things I said I was going to get done today. And it gets you back on track. Having that visual reference really helps to get you back on track. Most entrepreneurs suffer from what I like to call shiny object syndrome. You've probably heard of this. I didn't make up this term. It means that we get distracted often by a new cool idea and we just kind of want to run with it. But the challenge is that some of those really important tasks that need to get done can get ignored when we're doing this. So identify those top 3 items and everything else should be ignored. So make a nice little visual for yourself. If you've got a whiteboard, if you've got your screensaver, you can put it on, whatever it looks like, but put it somewhere. Okay, so now that you have your top 3 tasks identified, when new tasks land on your plate, I want you to evaluate whether or not you are the best person to be performing that task. This goes back to that outsourcing thing too, right? Maybe you've got someone on your team, or maybe you don't have someone on your team and you're thinking you want to hire someone to take on some hours. So evaluate which tasks you find you should be doing, not which ones are you the best at. Which ones do you enjoy doing the most? Which ones are most important for you as the CEO of your company to be doing? Where is that highest value? And it doesn't mean, I know plenty of CEOs that still like to go out on client calls and, still like to be what we would call in the trenches of things and doing some of the day-to-day stuff. That is okay. There's nothing to say that you can't do those things. As long as you're not compromising any other duties or objectives. If you're trying to increase your company sales by, say, tenfold this year, if you're trying to do 10x what you did last year, you're probably going to need to spend a little bit of time either on those actual marketing campaigns, on the lead generation, or building a team that's going to do that for you. So keep that in mind as to where your highest value is based on what your goals and your objectives are. Now, when I'm evaluating my task and my highest value, I'm also going to take a look at what matters right now. So if you are looking to increase revenues, then you should really be focusing on the tasks that will increase revenues, right? So, and some of them might be long-term, playing that long game. Others are more short-term. So you do want to prioritize some of those short-term goals while not ignoring some of the long-term goals. So the other thing that I recommend is figure out what matters to you. And you can have more than one thing that matters, but you don't want a list of 10 things. Not everything's going to check 10 boxes. But if you have a couple of things that you're using to sort of decipher through your list and decide which items are going to hit the top of your list, figure out what those items are. For myself, I do like to focus on revenue generating. So is because I am the main person in my company still who brings in actual revenues when it comes to the coaching, of course. I mean, I am the face and the name of the coaching business. As much as I want to be spending my time working with my clients, I also know that there are certain things that I do as the face of the business that's going to generate new leads and new sales. And I want to make sure that I'm doing that. But I also take a look at what gives me joy. And I like to lead with those items as well. Does this bring me joy? If not, maybe it's an item that gets postponed or trashed. Now, of course, not every task that we do is going to bring us joy. And if it can't be outsourced, we may still need to do it. But this is a really good way of evaluating your to-do list. So I mentioned the project management software program earlier. I want to circle back to that a little bit because here's one of the great values that has for you is it allows you to take those super large projects and break them down into bite-sized actionable pieces. So let me use an example. If you have create business plan, for example, on your to-do list, that just feels insurmountable. It feels huge. You don't even know where to start. So maybe for today on your task list, you have create outline of business plan. And then tomorrow, you're going to take a look at that outline and you're going to tackle the first item on it. So maybe the first item is create introduction to company. So you're going to create a task to create the introduction to your company. Maybe one of those tasks is to review and identify your financials and create your projections. So break them down as small as you possibly can. Make those tasks into subtasks of those, and break them down into smaller, more digestible, more achievable, smaller tasks that will then lead to these milestones and these overall overarching goals. So by taking those large items and breaking them down, not only does it feel way less overwhelming to try to tackle them, but it also helps to move the needle in the company and give us that sense of accomplishment each day. So instead of feeling like you did nothing today, well, I did check an item off the list. Maybe you didn't create your business plan, but you took a step closer to creating your business plan. Okay. So if you can eliminate some of the busy work that you have and concentrate on that high level work that moves your business forward, you're going to find that your to-do list is a lot lighter. And what that allows you to do is it's going to give you more capacity for making better informed decisions as well. And that's huge for you. Have you ever felt that you just don't even have the brain power, the capacity to properly evaluate an opportunity that comes your way or a situation that's come up because you just don't feel like you can get the clarity you need because you're just so busy doing. So by eliminating some of this busy work and concentrating on that high level work, it will allow you to free up that mental capacity, that space that you need in order to properly review things and evaluate things. One of the things that I know some organizations do that you might want to try out is some of those items that you're saying, like, nope, I don't have time for you right now. You're kind of a wish list type item. I wish that I could tackle this task, but it just doesn't rate in high enough urgency, importance. It doesn't bring me closer to the things that matter, whether it's my revenue goals or bring me joy or whatever it might be. So maybe you set aside a day or a few hours every month, every quarter, once a year. You go away for 3 days and allow yourself the space and the time to dig into those items a little bit. Some amazing things can come out of those moments where you allow yourself to innovate, go down a rabbit hole, and just immerse yourself in some of those busy tasks, so to speak. There is value to some of those things, but if you're living in that every day, you're going to find yourself mostly overwhelmed. So now that we've got our to-do list mostly sorted out, we've got a pretty good idea as to how to tackle most of these things. We want to ensure that we're also setting up ourselves for success by creating an environment that allows you to work at your best capacity. So what does that mean? Well, for starters, I want you to protect your most productive hours. So we talked about moving your most important tasks or those really big tasks or those tasks you just don't enjoy doing to the start of your day. The reason I've said to do that is for most people, your most productive hours will be at the start of your day. So evaluate what that looks like for you. I know a lot of people say, oh, I'm a night owl, I do my best work at night. But the reality is that most people really don't do that. You don't operate as well, your brain is fatigued, and you might not be as sharp and clear thinking at the end of the day. So figure out what your most productive hours are and then protect them. So if this means every week ensuring that you don't have any appointments, say on Tuesday mornings because you're going to work on your business during that time because you feel like you're going to be most productive, then block that time off. And I mean, for myself, Monday mornings, I would never call that my most productive time. I do try not to book appointments for Monday mornings, more because that's a time to play catch up and sort of set the game plan for the week. But Tuesday mornings might be a great time for you where you don't have any meetings. So you block that time off and you don't book anything and you concentrate specifically on working on those top priority tasks. We have to ensure that we are putting time aside to work on our business. And we want to block it into our calendar the same way that we would put any other appointment into our calendar so that we are protecting that time. So that means not booking any other appointments for that time. And if by chance you absolutely have to book something else for that time, then you're working to move either that protected time to another day of the week or another time of day. If we wait until we feel like doing something like, oh, I'll do that at the end of the day if there's time, chances are it's going to keep getting pushed off from one day to the next. And you've probably experienced this where I'm just going to move that one more day. I'm going to move that another day, going to move that another day. And the more you do that, the more stressed out and overwhelmed you might feel, because again, this contributes to that feeling of not actually accomplishing anything. So now when I'm saying to protect those hours as well, another way to do that is to restrict your distractions. So plan for focused time. This means silencing your notifications and perhaps even going offline if possible. I highly recommend what's called the Pomodoro method. With this method, you will work in focused intervals. You'll take a small break and then you'll repeat that. And so it's usually about 25 minutes that you're working and then taking a small 5-minute break. That small 5-minute break is just enough to give your brain a little bit of a reset and rest, but not so much that you can't get back into the work and back into that flow when you resume. You might find that at times certain projects will demand more than 25 minutes of straight time. I know there are some things, especially if you work with a lot of spreadsheets and numbers where you're kind of digging into things and all these pieces of the puzzle need to fit together in a certain way. And so within 25 minutes, you've kind of figured out where everything is, but you don't want to take a break because you don't want to have to get back into that. So set up that timeline as you see fit. But generally, it's recommended that you're doing 25 minutes of work and then taking a 5-minute break. So some people have also found the 90 minutes versus 20 minutes as a super effective way of doing that. So if you do have those larger projects, that can work well for you as well. So find the timing that works best for you. And then while you're offline, while you're removing those distractions, also take control of your communications a little bit. So it's one thing to have your notifications silenced, but what else can you be doing to potentially reduce the amount of communication that you're doing? So, for example, perhaps you have an autoresponder on your email that advises people that you're only checking your email a couple of times a day. And I generally recommend telling them approximately what time that is, like first thing in the morning and just before I shut down in the evening, addressing urgent emails first. All other emails I'll do my best to respond to tomorrow or whatever that looks like. But another thing that you can do in that autoresponder is redirect them. Is there someone else in your company who is better equipped to be answering a particular question? If so, redirect them. Is there a frequently asked question that you get where you're like, are you calling about this? Or are you emailing me about this? Check out this link and see if that answers your question. So that's a great way to not feel so chained to your email, like you have to respond instantly. And I know that depending on the business that you're in, this may be easier said than done. But if you're simply concerned about, well, my spouse might need to get a hold of me, my kids might need to get a hold of me, I absolutely respect all of that. You can usually set up your notifications to allow certain people to be able to break through that do not disturb setting that you have. But whenever possible, maybe you just start training some of them to just not contact you during those times unless it absolutely really is an emergency. By setting those expectations, by managing your communications, people will start adapting and finding other ways to get the answers that they need if it's not actually necessary for those answers to come from you. All right, so what else can we do to ensure that we are setting up our work environment for success or personal for that matter? You can apply a lot of this stuff in your personal life as well. Well, I am a big fan of what's called standard operating procedures, otherwise known as SOPs. The idea is that whether it's just you or you have a full team of staff, it's really important to document your processes. Don't try to remember everything that you need to do and how you need to do it. So let's say you do a task, especially if it's a task you do like once a month or once every other week. For example, I run payroll every other week. I know what I'm doing, but I have the process documented so that it's easy for me. There's no thinking involved. I just literally go step by step and I can ensure that I'm not going to miss a single thing. And what that does is it frees up the mental capacity. So I'm not wasting energy thinking about what I need to do, simply following a set of steps. And that way, that can free up that capacity for the next task that maybe does require a little bit more brain power from me. So document all of your processes and stop reinventing the wheel. Create standardized email templates to be able to craft responses. If you get similar questions all the time, maybe you simply craft some standardized emails and send those out, modifying them as needed, of course, but that will save a lot of time instead of retyping the same thoughts over and over and over again. The greatest thing about standard operating procedures and having these standardized templates is that not only does it help you, even if you're the only person in your business, but should you ever choose to delegate a task off of your plate, it makes it so much easier to be able to do that effectively. And I will say this about delegation as well. There's one thing that I've learned over the years, and that is that most of us do not delegate properly. Instead, we delegate in what's considered more of a boomerang effect, where we throw a task out there and then we have it come back to us for final review. Whenever delegating, do your best to ensure that the person who takes on that task can see it through start to finish without it having to come back to you. There will always be things that, yes, you will need your eyes back on. Someone's only helping with a branch, so to speak, of the overall overarching task. However, if there's something that they can just own, let them own it. Make sure that they have all the information that they need to be successful and identify for them what the intended objective or outcome is and let them go at it. Let them enjoy finding their own way to figure it out, have them document their processes so someone else can take it over. But there's no reason why you need to do that. And in fact, going back to documenting processes, yes, this makes things a lot easier to pass off. But if you're looking to pass things off now and you don't have those processes documented, don't worry about it. Bring in the person who's going to take on those tasks, train them how to do it, and have them document the process. I know, pretty brilliant, right? Okay, so I want to talk about, I think I've got a little bit of time here still. I'm going to talk about what I call my task triage method. So let me explain a little something. Very recently, I had my car vandalized. And so I went to bed one evening thinking my day the next day was going to go a certain way. And I think we've all had this, this unexpected event that happens and just completely derails your day, right? Like I was planning on doing all these things. I had a super productive day plan. And I woke up the next morning to discover my car had been vandalized. So, because I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about this, I have a Mini Cooper convertible and the soft top to it was that someone burned a hole in it and slashed it. And I will say this as well. I'm the kind of person that when these things happen, I'm not dwelling on why it happened, how it happened. I don't care. I just want to get it solved. So now I've got to file the police report. I've got to file the claim with the insurance company. I've got to take my car to the auto body shop. I've got to pick up my rental car. Lots of things that just are just a time suck out of my day. And this was going over the first few days, I would say, was just constant on the phone with the adjuster and the auto body shop and, lots of small details to sort out. So I would say in the first few days, it's probably a good 10 to 12 hours that this event took from me. And so that's 10 to 12 hours that I no longer have to work on my business or even in my business for that matter. So you would think that I would have just ridden off the whole week as being a complete waste, not going to get anything done. But the problem was that wasn't an option for me. I had a really busy week coming up the following week. I had speaking engagements to prepare for. I had a new program launching. I had so many things going on that it just wasn't an option for me to just not get things done. So that's where I practiced my task triage method probably at like the greatest capacity I have ever practiced this method. But the task triage method is where you essentially have to take a look at your to-do list and isolate if you've got just a couple of hours, like you planned out this to-do list based on, say, 10 hours of work or 8 hours of work that you were going to do, but now you're limited to only being able to do it in a couple of hours. Which items are you taking with you? So think about if you're on a boat and that boat is sinking and you're going to get into a raft and, swim to safety, what items are you going to take with you? You can't take everything. You're not going to bring your full suitcase with you. So which items are you taking with you? So if you were to look at your task list and triage it, I know you can do it. I know you've done it before, where the most important things will get done. What are the things that if you get those done, you're going to feel much more comfortable going to sleep at night? So this is what I call the task triage method. And like I said, I know that it's not an easy thing to do, but the reality is that we've all done it. So not only that week did I manage to get everything done that I really needed to get done, it was one of my most productive weeks because I only focused on those high level tasks, but it was also one of my highest revenue generating weeks because again, I was focusing on those items that were really going to move the needle in my company. So imagine how powerful that would be if we did that more often. So maybe you don't wait until some major catastrophe comes in to derail your day. And we practice this a bit more regularly. But know that if something does come in where it just kind of throws everything off course, take your task triage method, put it to work, and figure out what are the items that absolutely need to get done. So now we talked earlier about how often we're saying yes to things that perhaps we should be saying no to. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, how do I know what I should be saying yes to and what I should be saying no to? And then how do I actually say no? I feel bad saying no. I don't want to let anybody down. I don't want anyone to think that I'm difficult to work with. So how do I go about doing it? Well, the first thing is, in order to understand what to say no to, you need to have some solid clarity on where you're going. What are your goals? What's your vision? What are your overall objectives? Because that helps you to evaluate whether or not a request brings you closer to those goals or further away. So that's a really big help for understanding what to say yes to and what to say no to. You also want to take a look at it though and ask yourself, what value comes out of it for you? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that everything you say yes to needs to be selfishly self-serving, but you do want to take a look at things and identify what the value is for you. So, yes, we want to be, good friends, good mothers, good daughters, good, companions, good spouses, whatever. But that doesn't mean no one's expecting us to do that as a self-sacrifice either. So we do have to take a look at what makes the most sense for us and what makes the most sense going forward. And maybe doing a good deed for someone with nothing in return is what makes the most sense because it's something you really, really, really want to do and will bring you great joy doing it. Or because someone's just in a bind and they would do the same thing for you. But if every day that same person is asking you to do them just this one favor, you're not getting anything in return, that's something to evaluate as well. So take a look at the person who's asking you, what it is that they're asking, and then evaluate how that aligns with what you're working towards, both personally and professionally. Saying no to opportunities that don't align with your overall goals will actually help you to grow your business on your terms. It will also help you to avoid overcommitting yourself and burning yourself out, as well as better position yourself to be able to achieve the goals that you've set out to achieve by eliminating some of those distractions. Okay, so listen, if what I'm saying here resonates with you, I really hope that you will continue to tune in every single week. We drop new episodes every Tuesday morning and allow me to be a part of your journey. I would love to continue on this journey with you. Some weeks I have guests come on, some weeks it's just me, similar to today. But I'm always looking to provide you with actionable tips, share stories, share insights, share experiences that are proven, that I know work, strategies that I know will help you to achieve the goals that you were intended to achieve, and achieve the success that you were meant to achieve. So if everything I'm saying here resonates with you, I hope you'll join me again next week. In the meantime, please leave us a review, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, everyone, keep thriving.